Hey everyone, this is Howie Ree, Managing Director of Student Programs at Duke's Innovation and Entrepreneurship Initiative. This is the informational video for the Duke Startup Challenge, the spring kickoff event in 2019. Let's jump in. So the theme for this two-day event is all action and no talk. This is the motto that we've taken from Techstars Startup Weekend. Techstars Startup Weekend has run thousands of startup weekends across the globe. And they've really honed in on this idea that entrepreneurs need to be experiencing entrepreneurship, not be listening to lectures. So we are doing that over the next 2 days. And very simply, the agenda looks like this. Day one, you work, work, and work. Day two, you continue to work, and ultimately you pitch to our panel. The more detailed agenda is that you start day one, you hear a bunch of 60-second pitches, and you work towards forming a team. You find a place to work from our offices, and you basically work. We provide lunch, we provide dinner. You send us some Slack updates so we know what's going on, and you work until the bullpen closes at night. And then the next morning, you continue to work with your team, and eventually you present to our panel of judges at 3 p.m. So what are these 60-second pitches? Well, keep it simple. You're going to be standing up in front of a crowded room, and you just want to tell people what is the problem that you're trying to solve and what are the solutions you are thinking of using to solve it, and who are the people that you would like to meet. After everybody pitches their ideas, we're going to write down each idea on one of these large Post-it sheets. Make sure you write your name, your Slack channel, and your net ID. And we're also going to post the ideas in the DSC 2019 Slack channel. We could use a couple volunteers to help with that if we have some. And then after you hear all the pitches, you're going to vote on your favorites. What you're going to do is you're going to take a couple of small Post-it notes, write your name, phone number, and net ID, and you're going to put your Post-it notes on your favorite ideas around the room. And then it's a bit of a messy process, but basically you want to seek out the people that have pitched. Hopefully they're all going to stand by their Post-it page, and you're going to chat with them and see if you click and want to work together. And then it's off to the races. So to form a team, you really want to find people that complement you. So teams are usually composed of the founders and the teammates. And this is a little bit murkier in this event because it's kind of just a clump of people that are working together on an idea. But it's good to know how it looks just so you can know how things will shake out eventually. So the teammates on the team usually need to have a variety of skills from product management, engineering, design, process, sales, and distribution. Or if they don't have those skills, that's okay. This can be great work experience and a chance for you to really stretch yourself in trying to learn those skills. And the founders, in this case, are probably the people that pitch the idea. So usually founders are in solo founders or in a pair. There's some research that suggests that once you get bigger than a pair of founders, things start to get unstable and are hard to hold together. So let's assume that's true for now. So usually founders are either solo founders or a pair of founders. And a solo founder needs to be able to be the creative visionary, but also need to be able to get stuff done. And in a pair of founders, a lot of times you have a creative visionary who can really think of what the future needs to be and what the products need to look like. But also you have another person who's more behind the scenes and gets a lot of stuff done. You can think of this as the product person and the salesperson, or the visionary and the operations person. There's kind of a lot of different cuts. You know, one pair can be wildly different from another pair. But just some examples of, famous pairs from history: Steve Jobs, Steve Wozniak of Apple, Bill Gates, Paul Allen of Microsoft, Sergey Brin and Larry Page of Google, and the list goes on and on. So ultimately, founders and teammates come together, and for this two-day event, you really want to come together and try to figure out what strengths people have and become kind of a whole together. Okay, now that you've found your team, you want to find a location. Luckily, at the bullpen, we have plenty of spaces to sit. We have over 10,000 square feet of space. I think it might be over 15,000 square feet of space. And this is actually an office plan here. I did my best to replicate the office plan here. So the Rubenstein room here in the top left. We've got a small classroom behind the kitchen. We've got a whole empty wing, which I've labeled here in the top right with W's. We have this open area that many of you walk through with labeled O. And then if you go down below the open area, we have a bunch of conference rooms, at least 5 different conference rooms that you can work from. So I've got a spreadsheet. Based on how many teams we have here, we might need to end up, kind of sharing rooms, sharing conference rooms and things like that. But that's what we want you to do after you form your team. Engage with coaches. Okay, so we are lucky enough that we have a lot of Duke alums that are local that have offered to come in to help in 3-hour increments. Just as an example, this is our first set of coaches that have offered to come in. We've got Sue Harnett, who is a Duke alum, who founded Rewriting the Code and also founded Replay Photos, which she sold a few years ago. We've got Jed Carlson, who is one of the area's most successful entrepreneurs. He founded Reverb Nation about 10 years ago and founded AdWorks a few years ago, which spun out of Reverb Nation. Both companies are doing really well. We've got Monica Wood, who founded Mix, investment from David Gardner of Co-Founders Capital. We've got Rachel Classy, who went through Techstars Austin with her company, The WedClick, and she's now Director of Growth at Teamworks, started by Duke alum Zach Marides. And, we've got Isaac Park here. Sorry, that's not Monica Wood there, who is the founder of Pathos Ethos. Okay, so the next thing is you want to make progress. So what does making progress mean? Well, it can mean a lot of different things. And just as an example, here are some of the questions that I think you probably want to figure out. So one is, what is this problem? Is it clearly stated? And are you needing a painkiller or a vitamin? Is this a problem that people really, really have? What is your solution? Think of a lot of different solutions before you choose one. Is this a mass market idea or is this a luxury item? Because that changes a lot of how you think about it, including pricing. What is the right price for this? If it's a luxury item, you're going to go high. If it's mass market, you're going to want to be really competitive. Do some customer validation. This is something that a lot of you are going to have almost zero experience doing. And what customer validation basically means is talk to customers and talk to them now. Figure out who you can email, call, text, reach out to, post on Facebook, and talk to customers now. What is your customer persona for your target customer? So you can't just say we're going to kind of solve the problem for everybody out there. You want to hone in on a target customer that really has a pain point that you can solve. And that leads to the main use case. What is the compelling example of using this? I think you really want to hone in on a specific example of using your product that actually really solves something, as opposed to just a kind of throwaway example that you say, this isn't a very good example, but here's the example we're going to use. Come up with a really compelling example. What behavior change do you want to make? So for a customer, a lot of times your product is replacing something else that they're already using. So what is the behavior change you want them to make? Competitive validation. So we do have a validation matrix, which is looking at your top 3 to 5 competitors and figuring out if there really is a spot in the market for you. Market size basically is how many people are buying this times how much is being spent by them. And the team, who is on your team and who can do what. So that's a lot of stuff that you need to figure out. That's not even everything that you need to figure out, but that's a lot that's going on. Ultimately, after working, you're going to want to hone in on a 5-minute pitch. I wouldn't spend too much time making the order of slides in the 5-minute pitch different. So I don't think that your innovation should be around kind of the type of slides that you present with, but rather you want to use something that's more tried and true. And here's an example of kind of a slide deck that you can use in a 5-minute pitch. And you want the content of these slides to be really compelling. So I'm not going to read through all these things. They kind of mirror what we were talking about in terms of the stuff you're going to want to work on. But you want a pretty simple but impactful deck that simply and clearly communicates your idea to our panel of judges. And ultimately, if there's one takeaway for you from the Duke Startup Challenge, I hope that you'll take this away. Create a product people are clamoring to purchase. And I want you to really imprint this on your brain. This is a phrase that Duke alum Melissa Bernstein shared with me. She is one of the co-founders and co-CEOs of Melissa & Doug with her husband, Doug. They're one of the top 10 toy companies in the world. They've sold about $1 billion worth of toys, probably more than that, much more than that at this point. They've launched thousands of products, and they're still actively running their company 30 years later. And they offer a really unique perspective because they founded their company, but they're also actively running their company 30 years later. I think there's very few people in the world that can say that they're doing that. And they're still launching about 150 new products a year. And it's funny, they told me this phrase, create a product people are clamoring to purchase. And it really kind of struck me as, wow, that's a really compelling way to say it. I don't know that I've heard many other people say this before. This was this past summer. And I was watching the Y Combinator Startup School videos. For those of you who don't know Y Combinator is the top startup accelerator in the world. Their companies have a market valuation of over $100 billion. You probably use their products every month, including Airbnb, Reddit, Coinbase, Dropbox, and many others. And they've just had a lot of success. They're based in the San Francisco Bay Area. And I was watching their startup school videos, which they launched this past summer. And the very first talk and the very first slide by their president, Sam Altman, was this slide. A product so good, people tell their friends. And it really struck me that it was really similar to create a product people are clamoring to purchase. It kind of gets at a different idea, but it really kind of struck me that it was kind of similarly focused on creating an amazing product. And here's the quote from Sam. I'm not going to read it to you because I'm going to actually have Sam say it to you himself. So here we go.
Okay, today I'm going to talk about how to succeed with a startup. Obviously, more than can be said here in 20 minutes, but I will do the best I can. The most important thing, the number one lesson we try to teach startups is that the degree to which you're successful approximates the degree to which you build a product that is so good, people spontaneously tell their friends about it. Startups always ask us for the secret to success. They always want to believe it's something other than this, because this is really hard to do. But this is it. If you can build a product that is so good, people spontaneously tell their friends about it, you have done 80% of the work that you need to be a really successful startup. If you think about the most successful companies you know, Google, Facebook, whatever, you probably found out about them because a friend of yours said, you got to try this, it's great. So this is the bar. Something that people love so much they tell their friends about it.
So it really struck me that Sam was kind of capturing the same sentiment as Melissa and Doug. And then in September of this past year, 2018, I was going through some tweets from Elon Musk, and I saw this. Elon basically talking about the Model 3, which has been selling really well this year. And Elon basically said, the Model 3 is the best-selling car, and we haven't placed any advertising. And he goes on to say that our competitors, the other car companies, actually spent billions of dollars on marketing, and the Model 3 was product alone. And I thought, wow, that's another really interesting way of thinking of the importance of product, that that your competitors can spend billions of dollars on marketing, but if their product is inferior, it will not be able to compete against a superior product. And I love that Elon, he's got so many interesting riffs in his Twitter timeline. But again, this is just from October 2018. He just talks about, hey, listen, a company is just a group of people that gather together to make products. As long as it makes great products, it's going to have great value. And, it's no surprise that the Tesla, has been named the 2018 Car of the Year. The Tesla Model S before this, that was also a Car of the Year winner. And if you talk to people that own Teslas, they absolutely love them. And so I've got this video clip I found of Elon actually talking about advice for entrepreneurs. And he talks about product a little bit.
So sort of general, advice I'd give to people starting companies, to entrepreneurs in general, is really focus on making a product that your customers love. It's so rare that you can buy a product and you love the product when you bought it. There are very few things that fit into that category. And if you can come up with something like that, your business will be successful for sure.
So I just think that's really interesting that Elon kind of talks about that as well. And then the last person I'll reference is Paul Graham, who is the founder of Y Combinator. So Sam Altman is the current president of Y Combinator, but Paul started Y Combinator, and he gave this talk at Stanford called Before the Startup, and it was to students at Stanford, and the topic was, what should you know about before you start a company? And what he talks about is kind of a lot of counterintuitive things that founders have to learn to be an entrepreneur. And he talks about this thing about how you really need to make something that people want. I will warn you, he drops an F-bomb in here. Sorry about that. I'll try to beep it with my own sound here when he does it. So let's listen to Paul Graham talking about...
He has probably forgotten about it by now. In fact, I worry it's not merely unnecessary for people to learn in detail about the mechanics of starting a startup, but possibly somewhat dangerous, because another of the characteristic mistakes of young founders starting startups is to go through the motions of starting a startup. They come up with some plausible sounding idea. They raise funding at a nice valuation. They rent a nice office in Soma, hire a bunch of their friends, and then the next step, after rent a nice office in Soma and hire a bunch of their friends, is gradually realize how completely fucked they are, because while imitating all the outward forms of starting a startup, they have neglected the one thing that's actually essential, which is to make something people want.
So make something people want, which again, I think really captures this idea of creating a product that people are clamoring to purchase. Okay. So a couple more things to cover. So the Duke model for entrepreneurial action is a model that we've created at Duke to talk about how to be innovative. So it has these 4 steps: cultivate a mindset, identify an opportunity, develop a solution, deliver products. And for those of you that have been participating this winter, over winter break, this ideation set of exercises and prompts I've been having you do is really focusing on, cultivating this mindset of seeing innovation kind of all around you. In spring 1 and spring 2 of this semester, we're going to go through the next 2 steps. I'm not going to go into detail as to what that is about. But in the summer, I will talk actually a little bit about that, because for some of you, spending a summer with us is going to be very different from some of the plans that you currently have on the books. So let's talk about our Summer Accelerator. This is the last thing I'll mention before wrapping it up here. So our Summer Accelerator for the Duke Startup Challenge is a competitive process. We've got money for about 5 teams. The teams will receive about $1,700 a month for each of their full-time members, full-time working on the startup. You can't be doing an internship. You can't be doing other stuff. You got to be working full-time on the startup. All the team members will be working from our offices, the Bullpen, 5 days a week. We're combining forces with the Duke Startup Challenge with the Melissa and Doug Entrepreneurs Program and the Program for Entrepreneurs, which both also have some funding for entrepreneurs. We're going to have a lot of interesting things going on for this program. We've got Mentor Madness, where you're connecting to a lot of mentors. We've got a kickoff event at the beginning of the summer, We're going to have specific breakouts for the CEOs of each team, the CTOs of each team, so they can kind of learn from each other, the things that they're going through. And there will be a demo day in August. Our demo day for the Duke Startup Challenge is a little bit of a new concept, although we've had a similar event over the last 19 years. By the way, this is the 20th year of the Duke Startup Challenge. I thought I should just mention that. So the demo day is a chance to raise money. We've actually done some really successful demo days with our Melissa and Doug Entrepreneurs program. We raised over $100,000 the night of the demo day event at each of our last two events. And so I think there's a lot of opportunity there for you all to possibly raise money and start to make a go at your company. Okay, so that's it for our spring kickoff. I'll just say again, create a product customers are clamoring to purchase. My name is Howie Ree. You can email me here or send me a message or give me a call at this number. I'm really looking forward to working with you. Let's be creative and let's really come up with really interesting startups that can help solve the problems in the world. Thanks so much.